It's the 10th day of the Israel-Hamas war. The Israeli military is preparing for the next stages of the war against the Hamas militant group, while humanitarian crisis still looms over Gaza. In the latest, US President Joe Biden said in an interview that any move by Israel to occupy Gaza Strip again would be a big mistake. United States and Israeli officials have also been discussing the possibility of US President Joe Biden visiting Israel at the invitation of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. A visit by Biden will show support for the biggest US ally in West Asia. The White House, however, has denied any comments on this. US Secretary of State Antony Blinken continued his outreach activities in the West Asian region. He completed his six-nation tour with a visit to Jordan. Blinken says the nations in the region believe any spillover of the Israel-Palestine conflict must be averted. Blinken, after his meeting with Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, said, I'm quoting here, the Rafah crossing will be reopened. We're putting in place with the United Nations, with Egypt, with Israel, with others, a mechanism by which to get the assistance in and to get it to people who need it. Blinken did not give a specific timeline for crossing to reopen. This while Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas said that the policies and actions of Hamas do not represent the Palestinian people. Staying with diplomacy, Iran has also warned Israel of escalation if it failed to end aggression against Palestinians and stated the resistance front can defend itself. So far, 1,400 people have been killed in the Hamas attacks and the attacks since then, most of them civilians. Meanwhile, Israel's attacks in the days since have flattened neighborhoods, killed at least 2,670 people in Gaza, the majority ordinary Palestinians. Meanwhile, the Israeli military said on Sunday that it had confirmed 155 people were being held hostage by Hamas since the group staged its deadly attack last week. Foreign nationals currently in Gaza can cross over to Egypt starting tomorrow. Palestinian embassy. These are the people who have dual Meanwhile, according to Palestinian embassy, foreign nationals and Palestinians will be able to cross the border into Egypt starting 9 a.m. local time. For more on this, we have with us our correspondent Siddhant Sibal, who has been covering the conflict from the front lines. Listen in. Now, Siddhant Sibal is also joining us live right now. Siddhant, thank you so much for joining us. To begin with, what can you tell us of the situation on ground currently?
Well, right now I am in Tel Aviv, and yesterday we traveled into southern Israel, cities which have been impacted by the rocket attacks by Hamas, and also the cities which saw the attack by Hamas when the terrible incident happened earlier this month. But essentially, most of these cities have now turned into ghost towns, even as we saw a lot of tanks moving towards the Gaza border. There have been amassing of tanks and heavy artillery towards Gaza border, even as Israel is expected to launch a ground offensive in Gaza to deal with what it says is to make sure that Hamas hideouts are eliminated. But that is also going to lead a lot of humanitarian crisis in Gaza Strip as well. It is one of the most densely populated areas in the world, and we know that the Israelis have been calling for evacuation of civilians from northern part of Gaza towards southern part, and that of course is a major humanitarian catastrophe, as the UN has said. But on the ground here in Tel Aviv, what we have seen is a bit of normalcy. We haven't seen any anxious scenes, but what we have seen is almost every evening, which has become a ritual of sort, is that alarms go on when there are attempted strikes, rocket strikes, which of course are successfully intercepted by the Iron Dome.
Right, Siddhant, now Israeli military, as you mentioned as well, it's mobilized tanks on Gaza border in preparation for a ground offensive. Now the big question is, what sort of a plan in place do they have to discern between Hamas hideouts and also innocent civilians?
Well, there was an audio issue. I could only hear a bit of the question, but essentially what I can say when it comes to Israel dealing with Hamas hideouts, that has been a priority of the Israeli government. But of course, there is a bit of cautiousness as well, given that how there are still hostages in Hamas custody. It has been more than 1 week since the terror strikes happened in southern part of Israel. So the family members here in Tel Aviv have been staging protests almost on a daily basis, asking the government to take strong action and make sure that their loved ones are returned. But it's a precarious situation for Israeli government. Any strong action inside Gaza, there are already strong action inside Gaza, can of course lead to more danger to the lives of hostages. With each passing day, we know that the hopes go a little bleak, and that is something that the loved ones are really scared of.
All right, Siddhant. Also, as I mentioned earlier, foreign nationals currently in Gaza can cross over to Egypt starting tomorrow. Can you tell us a little bit about this process?
Well, when it comes to foreign nationals in Gaza, we know that there was a plan which involved Egypt, that foreign nationals can leave Gaza. But of course, it is something that is work in progress. We also know that there have been calls, in fact, growing calls for ceasefire as to how the situation should not exacerbate. And the Arab countries, of course, have been very vocal about it. So it's a tightrope diplomacy for many countries, while they of course sympathize with Israel, especially the Western world. The problem of course is that there have been humanitarian challenges, increasing humanitarian challenges in Gaza, something that the Arab world is very vocal about, and they have been saying that if any action by the Israeli side takes place in Gaza, especially in northern Gaza, that could spiral out of control and impact the stability of the wider West Asian region.
All right. Siddhant, thank you so much for bringing us the latest on this. We will, of course, continue to track all the developments closely with you there. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.